The following morning, Gia prepares himself for another visit to Takuto, and Elder Molter asks if he is really prepared to meet the Dark King. Molter strongly believes that since they have already accepted aid from the Dark King, they must also be prepared to pay whatever price he demands in return. Gia objects, reminding him that Takuto never once suggested anything like that. But Molter insists it's simply like evil beings to ask something in exchange for any act of kindness. Yet Molter agrees they need to rely on Takuto for now since nowhere else is safe. So they decide to visit Takuto together, completely unaware that his insect scout had been observing their entire conversation. Takuto quickly calls back the scouts to report to him, and upon hearing that the elves are on their way, he quietly hopes they'll just pick up the remaining food Takuto had prepared yesterday and leave without causing a problem. Anxiety quickly starts to grip Takuto as he explains to Atu that he is terrible with conversations and doesn't know if he will be able to negotiate properly with the Dark Elves. Atu reassures him she will handle it herself, adding that this will also show the Dark Elves that her king would stoop low enough to speak with them personally. Shortly after, Molter and Gia arrive, and the Elder Molter greets Takuto with an overly formal and eloquent salutation, thanking him for the generous provisions he offered to his people. Then Molter respectfully asks permission to know the identity of their Dark King. After receiving permission from Takuto, Atu reveals his name proudly, declaring him to be the feared Dark King of Ruin himself. Both of the Dark Elves become visibly shaken upon having their worst fears confirmed. Then Atu coldly instructs them to simply take the food and leave because it's not going to last much longer anyway. Yet Molter politely insists on repaying Takuto for his generosity and asks what they can possibly give him in return. Atu coldly informs him that there is nothing in their possession capable of pleasing her king, so attempting repayment would be pointless. Then Atu questions if the elves even have anything left that they consider valuable at all, causing Molter to hesitate as he realizes they genuinely have nothing worthwhile to give. Noticing his hesitation, Atu immediately gives him a cold, intimidating stare and suspiciously asks if Molter is secretly planning something. Molter becomes visibly flustered, and Takuto quickly realizes their conversation is going badly, so he immediately signals Atu over to discuss how they should proceed quietly. But Atu becomes frustrated because she thinks Takuto is being way too soft on these two hopeless elves. Atu insists these guys have zero clue how to handle negotiations, and if this continues they'll just turn into an annoying headache later on, so she dramatically suggests killing them both and displaying their heads around the base as a clear warning. But Takuto quickly tells her to stop acting like a seko. Takuto calmly explains that the elves genuinely seem to want peaceful coexistence and sincerely wish to repay the kindness they have shown. Instead of just handing out freebies, Takuto suggests they ask for something small in return, keeping their relations with the elves positive. Atu reluctantly agrees and then tells the elves that her king has generously decided to accept their offer of payment. See Molter suddenly relax, making Takuto and Atu both realize he had been freaking out earlier because Molter had totally assumed Takuto would act like a typical villain. Atu scolds Molter for misjudging her king so harshly, but then she pauses, realizing she doesn't actually know what to ask them for. Thankfully, Takuto quickly comes up with a great idea and suggests that they ask the elves to provide them with information about the world outside this forest. Molter immediately lights up with relief, promising eagerly that he will share every bit of knowledge Molter has gained about the outside world. Atu nods but adds sternly that once Molter has provided the information, he and his tribe must leave the forest immediately. This shocks Gia and Molter deeply, and they quickly plead to be allowed to continue living there under Takuto's protection, but Atu snaps at them to quit pushing their luck if they value their lives. Gia tries to argue further, but Molter quickly silences him, admitting they must respect the king's wishes. They begin to turn and leave, but watching them, Takuto suddenly feels a pang of guilt for kicking them out like this. Takuto abruptly changes his mind, telling Molter and Gia that instead of leaving they can become citizens of his kingdom. Both elves freeze up completely, stunned by this unexpected kindness, though no one is more shocked than Atu, who can't believe what she is hearing. Atu immediately questions Takuto's logic, asking what he is thinking. Takuto calmly reminds her about the refugee system from the game, allowing different races to join their nation peacefully. Since Dark Elves are neutral aligned, Takuto points out they'll easily blend in with their kingdom's evil attribute, making coexistence entirely possible. Atu still isn't totally convinced because evil aligned species usually end up causing problems among themselves, but Takuto gently refreshes her memory that their main citizens, named homunculi, and there is no way they are going to be hanging out with those creepy things all day. The horrifying image of the homunculi immediately pops into Atu's mind, which instantly changing her mind. Atu quickly agrees and turns to Molter and Gia, declaring that Takuta plans to build a full-fledged kingdom soon and is generously offering them citizenship if they are willing to swear loyalty. Molter hesitates, asking what exactly it means to become their citizens, and Atu bluntly answers that they'd basically become evil-aligned beings. Still, Atu assures them with a sly smile that being evil isn't nearly as bad as it sounds. It's actually a lot more fun. Not long after, Takuto and Atu visit the Dark Elves settlement, where everyone anxiously awaits their arrival. They are so terrified that some of the weaker elves pass out at just the sight of Takuto. Calmly, Takuto takes his place on the throne with Atu at his side, who announces clearly to everyone gathered that from now on, they officially belong to their new kingdom Mynoghra. Then Atu asks Takuto if he is certain, and with a confident Takuto says yes, and then confirms this on his screen, and just like that, the Dark Elves are officially citizens of Mynoghra. Atu congratulates them, emphasizing that from now onward their safety and survival are personally guaranteed by their new king. Gia wonders out loud if that's really it, because he doesn't actually feel any different despite supposedly becoming an evil being. Almost immediately, Gia regrets speaking too soon when a wave of overwhelming hatred suddenly floods through him and the rest of the elves. Painful memories of being persecuted and attacked surge in their minds, filling them with an intense desire for revenge. Seeing everyone suddenly suffering, Takuto softly asks if they're alright, and hearing his genuine concern, Gia becomes emotional and deeply moved by the realization that someone finally cares about them. With tears streaming down their faces, the Dark Elves start passionately cheering for Takuto, leaving him a little overwhelmed but deeply touched by their enthusiasm. After a few days, Molter presents a map of the continent to Takuto, who immediately collapses in disbelief. Atu asks what's troubling him, and Takuto simply gestures towards the map, saying their starting location couldn't be any worse. They are stuck on a continent shared by two gigantic powerful civilizations. On one side is the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, a massive human nation worshipping Arlos, a creator and known for being righteous and strictly good-aligned. On the opposite side lies Elma, the Elemental Alliance, a nation of elves devoted to nature. They are equally on the side of good, making it to realize they're literally sandwiched between two huge civilizations that would wipe them out in an instant if discovered. Panicking, Atu falls beside Takuto in despair. But Takuto quickly regains composure, reminding her that as long as they keep a low profile, they can quietly grow stronger. Takuto recalls that their main race, the homunculi, were dumb as rocks in the game and terrible at research. Luckily, now that they have got Dark Elves on their side, things should go much smoother. Soon after, the Dark Elves arrive for a meeting, this time bringing along Emil, Gia's assistant. Gia introduces her as a genius who knows way more than he does about foreign kingdoms and insists she will definitely prove useful. Atu conveys to the elves that their dedication has pleased the king, and she announces they're all about to receive major responsibilities directly ordered by Takuya himself. First up, Molter is tasked with managing internal affairs. Atu says she expects big things from him, especially since she learned he knows magic too. Next, Atu appoints Gia as the head of Mynoghra's warriors, charging him with building a powerful military for defense. When Atu leads recruitment up to Gia, he is way too excited, shouting dramatically that he will destroy all their enemies and proudly mount their heads as trophies. But Takuto's already feeling uneasy at the gruesome imagery. Takuto quietly remarks that war is barbaric, and Atu clarifies for the confused Gia that their king actually prefers peace, so he needs to calm down with the killing talk. This just confuses Gia even more, who wonders what kind of dark king of ruin is into peace. Molter, seeing Gia's confusion, sarcastically teases him and confidently states that unlike Gia, who clearly has more muscles than brains, he himself will prove far more useful to Takuto. Gia immediately takes it as a challenge, boasting loudly to Takuto that he is young and full of energy, ready to serve the king without rest tirelessly. Atu completely misunderstands their little competition as genuine dedication, mistaking them as workaholics. Atu turns to Takuto, asking if they should send them on a resource-collecting mission. But Takuto suggests a better idea, beautifying the land and building proper homes. Atu immediately relays this to Molter, instructing him to gather timber for building, but to ensure he doesn't ruin the beauty of the forest. Molter eagerly agrees, boasting that Dark Elves were originally forest dwellers, so he will handle it perfectly. Then Takuto adds that they should reforest the areas they clear, confusing the elves who have never even heard the term before. Realizing this world might be more primitive than expected, Takuto cautiously asks if they're familiar with military magic or the 6 major elements. Molter replies that he has only heard of 4 major elements, while Emil admits she has never even seen military magic being used by any kingdom. Takuto and Atu exchange looks, realizing they've hit a jackpot. This world is even less advanced than they thought, giving them a huge advantage to leap ahead quickly once they implement advanced magical technology. Atu patiently explains that reforesting means rapidly regrowing new trees to replace those they cut down using magic. The elves mention they do regrow trees naturally, but admit they never considered using magic to speed things up. A2 describes how reforesting employs the 6 major elements to grow new trees rapidly, then promptly credits this discovery to Takuto, even though it's a total lie. A2 starts glazing Takuto shamelessly, bragging about how he even created those special fruits the elves ate earlier and especially mentioning that grapes are her personal favorite. Emil excitedly confirms A2's words, then says that she also planted some grape seeds and they've actually started sprouting. Takuto is stunned by this revelation, as he had not expected earth-based fruits to grow so easily here. Suddenly inspired, Takuto quickly tests his theory by magically creating a coin from earth. When it works, Takuto is thrilled to realize he could potentially introduce advanced technologies like gunpowder, drastically accelerating the growth and superiority of his civilization compared to others. So now what will happen next? Subscribe to our channel to find out what will happen next. Friends, before we wrap up, we've recently launched a membership program where you can enjoy perks like early access to videos and exclusive content just for members and many more to enhance your interactions. If you're interested, consider joining our membership. To enjoy these benefits, check out the link in the description to join. So friends, if you enjoyed our recap video, please like and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.